Welcome to Zoe Stories. Mom walks in and I'm in her heels. They say the worst lies are the ones you tell yourself. I used to believe that. I told myself I was careful. I told myself the closet was only a place for coats, not secrets. I told myself that wearing her heels for a night was harmless, a private thing that belonged only to me. I told myself a lot of things. Then one ordinary Saturday afternoon, my world narrowed to the click of a heel on hardwood and the sound of the front door opening a second sooner than it should have. My name is Samir. I work as a junior architect, which means my days are a blur of measured lines and polite emails. I build other people's lives on paper, then hand the blueprints off and watch as they erect something permanent. Mine is quieter, smaller. A studio apartment in a tired building 2 blocks from the office, a plant I forget to water, and an ever-growing drawer of clothes that no one knows about. To the outside world, I'm efficient, even slightly dull. To Isabella, I'm her boyfriend who cares about plans and paychecks and the small domestic kindnesses that sustain a relationship. To myself, when the lights go out, I'm whoever I need to be for half an hour, sometimes into the dawn. Crossdressing for me started as curiosity, then became ritual. At first, it was the shock the transformation gave me, the way lipstick redraws the mouth and mascara makes the eyes look larger and less tired than I ever felt. It was a small rebellion against the exactness of my day job. It was softness pressed under the hard blueprints. I never intended it to be identity-defining. I told myself it was exploration, a hobby, a private language. But private languages grow grammar, and grammar begins to ask for more. Isabella calls me practical. She likes things she can schedule. She laughs at my spreadsheets, and she folds my shirts, her fingers tracing the collars with a tenderness I sometimes confuse for ownership. We met at a gallery opening. She was wearing a scarlet dress like she had stepped out of someone else's dream, and I liked the shape of her laugh. She is an art consultant, which means she lives between canvases and people who think about feelings on commission. Isabella is magnetic in a kind, precise way. She is also meticulous about time and rules. We have been together 2 years, and in those 2 years we built a safe rhythm. Dinner on Wednesdays, laundry on Sundays, movie nights, chilled wine on Saturdays. I loved her easy, steady presence. I loved that she didn't pry. I loved that she didn't ask to see everything in my drawers. That secrecy felt like oxygen. It felt honest, because I wasn't lying to her, I was just withholding. But withholding is not truth, and secrets become sharp edges that cut when someone stumbles into them. I had convinced myself that my crossdressing would always be behind closed doors, a private ritual of silk and powder. If I had been braver or lazier, maybe I would have told her or thrown the clothes out. But I kept both out of fear and habit, and an awful kind of devotion to the pleasure I felt when I put on a dress and a name that wasn't mine, and the mirror returned someone kinder, braver, quieter than any blueprint I'd ever drawn. The apartment where everything happens is small and honest. Sunlight tiles across the wooden floor where the cat now and then leaves a trail of fur. The living room is an arrangement of function over style because budgets shape taste as much as desire. On the bookshelf sits a stack of architecture magazines and a photograph of Isabella and me at the sea, our arms linked and her head leaning on my shoulder. This is a household with rhythms that feel permanent until they don't. On that Saturday, I had planned a slow afternoon of practice and preparation. There was a charity event the next weekend, a small gathering where Isabella wanted me to come with her as her +1. It was not the sort of event I wanted to attend as myself, as Samir, but I had promised her support, and I wanted to be seen beside her. So I had decided to try something new, a look that would read feminine but not outrageous, something subtle that would let me test the waters without exposing the deeper parts of me. A fitting rehearsal. A rehearsal that felt like courage. I had the outfit hidden under folded sheets in the drawer beneath the bed. A pair of Isabella's heels she jokingly called too bold for me last year, a soft black dress I had bought online when no one was home, and a wig that smelled faintly of the salon when I breathed it. I had sat before my small vanity with a hand mirror in one hand and a brush in the other, and felt the ritual move through me like a tide. Foundation matched skin to a new surface, mascara lengthened lashes like architectural lines extended beyond the frame. The dress hugged unfamiliar curves, and the heels raised my posture, so my spine felt new. For a few stolen hours, I practiced being someone else. And in that practice, I learned to stand differently, to laugh differently, to hold a glass in a way that said confidence instead of apology. I felt no shame, only an odd clarity, as if I were auditioning for a truth I had not had the courage to speak aloud. That clarity hid something else. Beneath it was a fear so constant I had named it habit, fear of being caught. Fear of Isabella's eyes on me, not tender, but wondering, fearful of judgment, or worse, a protective numbness that would make her pull away. I told myself she would be curious, maybe surprised, perhaps disappointed, but never cruel. I told myself stories about her patience the way I told myself stories about my own bravery. Those stories were scaffolding propped on faith, and what I had not realized was how thin that scaffolding could become the moment someone else touched it. Isabella had gone to meet a client that morning, a last-minute change in her schedule that meant she would arrive home earlier than usual. I had checked the time half a dozen times and each time relaxed because I believed I had 30 more minutes or an hour at most. It is strange how tiny lives compress into seconds. What felt like a comfortable bubble of privacy tightened into a shiver of possibility. What if she came in early? What if the door swung and the light returned, and I was not Samir, but the other person, the one I had been rehearsing? I froze in the mirror, trying to map every reaction like an architect surveying a building for flaws. My phone buzzed with a message from her, a single simple text. Running ahead. Home soon. The dot of the phone screen felt like an approaching footstep. I told myself to breathe, to change back to normal, to fold the dress, and slip into the comfortable armor of jeans and a hoodie. But there are moments when you learn your own courage or your own cowardice. I hesitated longer than I should have. That hesitation is the hinge of the story. It is the small, soft thing that opens into either a confession or a catastrophe. I told myself I could undo everything in 60 seconds. I believed in my own fingers and their practice speed. I believed in the quietness of our hallway and the predictability of the building. I believed in a lot of small things so that I wouldn't have to imagine the bigger possibilities. Being seen, the look on Isabella's face, the rearrangement of our life. The door then clicked open a beat earlier than my watch predicted. The sound sliced across the apartment with the ordinary finality of a key turning in a lock. I remember the way time stuttered, like a dropped pencil. In that small suspended second, my reflection multiplied. In the mirror, I was a composition of two selves, one in heels, one in jeans, and the space between them felt like a map I had to choose to cross. When she walked in, I saw her first, without judgment, the way you notice the weather before you notice the forecast. There were arrows of surprise, and then something else as her eyes tracked the dress, the wig, the unfamiliar posture. Her phone still in one hand, face lit like a small confession. For a long breath, I could not name what moved across her face. Shock. Curiosity. A strange, tender recognition. And then the thing that made my stomach hollow. The question that would have to be answered, and the silence that would decide how it was asked. This is where the first act ends, and everything else waits. I will tell you more when you ask for the next part. For now, know this. That small, ordinary Saturday, the private ritual I had protected with so much care, stumbled out of the closet and changed the architecture of my life in a single moment. The question is no longer whether I will continue to crossdress or whether Isabella will stay. The question is what happens when the person you love sees you as you are and chooses what to do with that knowledge. I will never forget the moment that could have destroyed my entire life. One mistake, just one, turned my whole world upside down. I was standing there, fully dressed, my mom's heels on my feet, her lipstick on my lips, the dress hugging my body. And then, the front door clicked open. A sound everyone hears every day, but for me, that day, it felt like the universe ripping apart. I froze. The entire room felt colder. And then, I saw her face. My mom, who could never even imagine seeing me like this, stood there in complete shock. Her heels on my feet, her makeup on my face, her son, transformed into someone else entirely. In that one moment, everything hung in the balance. My identity, my secrets, my future, all collapsing into a single breath. And I realized, this wasn't just about being caught. This was about who I truly was and whether my world was ready to see it. The moment my mom's eyes locked onto me in her heels, something inside me shattered and reformed all at once. But this isn't where everything truly began. The real storm started hours before that door ever opened, when I made the worst decision a secretive crossdresser can make. I let my guard down. That Saturday afternoon felt too quiet, too safe, too predictable. The kind of day that tricks you into believing nothing can go wrong. I should have known better. For weeks, something inside me had been building. An ache, a curiosity, a hunger to slip deeper into that other version of myself. Not the careful, cautious one who only dressed in the darkest hours of the night, but the version I kept buried behind zipped drawers and folded excuses. A version that wanted to breathe. And that day, I finally let her. I started small at first, telling myself I'd only try on one thing. Just one. But curiosity is never satisfied, especially when it's been starving. I opened the drawer. The soft fabrics, the carefully hidden pieces, the shadows of a second identity I created in secret, they stared back like they'd been waiting for me. My fingers hesitated over the dress, but only for a heartbeat. The next moment, it was in my hands. I slipped it on, feeling the cool fabric glide over my skin in a way that made my breath catch. Something inside me always shifted when I dressed, like I was aligning with a part of myself the world didn't allow me to show. Then came the makeup. The foundation softened my face. The eyeliner sharpened my eyes. The lipstick. God, the lipstick made me feel something both terrifying and liberating. Each stroke was a confession. Each color was a truth. Standing in front of the mirror, I felt a wave of emotion rise, excitement, guilt, longing, fear, all tangled together in a way that made my hands tremble. But the moment I slipped into her heels, my mom's heels, the ones she wore during her important meetings and dinner events, something electrified inside me. They were symbolic, forbidden, powerful. The click of the heels on the wooden floor echoed like a confrontational heartbeat. I knew it was dangerous. I knew the risk. I knew I shouldn't be wearing her things. But in that moment, I didn't want to stop. The apartment was quiet, sunlight pouring through the curtains in soft ribbons. The ordinary world outside didn't match the storm happening inside me. The danger made it thrilling. The secrecy made it intoxicating. And the worst part? I didn't want to hide anymore. Not for myself. I paced around the living room in those heels, testing the walk, adjusting my posture, feeling the sway of the dress brush against my legs. Every movement felt foreign, but also deeply, undeniably right. It was the first time I let myself be fully present in my crossdressing. Not just a quick change. Not just a nighttime escape. This was exploration. Awakening. Becoming. My heartbeat matched the rhythm of the heels. My breath felt lighter. My mind quieter. The fear of being caught faded into the background. And that was the problem. Because, while I was lost in the moment, lost in her, I forgot one simple fact. My mom wasn't supposed to return anytime soon. But promises and expectations mean nothing when life decides to take a different turn. It happened slowly at first, a faint noise outside the building staircase. A sound so ordinary that I didn't even register it. Then footsteps. My heart lurched, but I didn't react. My brain told me it was a neighbor, a delivery, a passing moment. I continued adjusting the wig, smoothing the dress, admiring the strange, delicate stranger staring back at me in the mirror. The stranger I was becoming. I lifted one heel slightly, testing balance. The sharp click echoed. Then, a key sliding into a lock. A sound so sharp it sliced straight through me. My blood froze. That sound didn't belong to anyone else. Not the neighbor. Not a delivery. Only one person had that key.
Mom.
I snapped toward the door, heart hammering so loud I felt it in my throat. Panic shot through my veins like electricity. For a split second I told myself, she won't come in. She'll take a call. She'll go back downstairs. Something will happen to save me. But nothing happened. The universe held its breath. The door handle turned. My stomach dropped. My mind screamed. My body refused to move. I could run to my room. I could hide. I could rip everything off. But heels don't let you run. Dresses don't come off in 3 seconds. Wigs don't vanish on command. She wasn't even inside yet, and I already knew. I was trapped.
Time slowed down around me.
My heartbeat started stuttering, breaking rhythm. My hands trembled. My lips, painted in her lipstick, parted in a silent gasp. My legs felt like jelly inside those heels that suddenly seemed impossibly tall. The door creaked open a few inches. A sliver of hallway light flashed across the floor. Her silhouette formed in the doorway. And that's when I realized something I had never allowed myself to accept. The version of me I kept hidden was about to be exposed.
Completely.
My worst fear wasn't being caught cross-dressing. My worst fear was being seen fully, without the mask, without the lies, without the safety of darkness. And that's exactly what was about to happen. The door opened wider. Her eyes connected with mine.
Shock.
Disbelief.
Confusion.
Everything I had buried for years erupted into that one frozen second. And then, she whispered the one word that made my entire world collapse. You? For a moment, neither of us moved. Her hand stayed on the doorknob. My hand stayed on my chest, as if I could somehow quiet the thunder inside it. The silence wasn't just silence. It was judgment, fear, disbelief, pain, all melting into one unbearable moment. And I knew she wasn't just seeing me. She was seeing everything. My shaking legs in her heels. The messy curls of the wig sliding crooked on my head. The red lipstick I had watched her apply 100 times. The fitted dress hugging a body she had raised, fed, loved, but never expected to see like this. Her eyes didn't blink. I didn't breathe. It felt like the world shrank to that one doorway where her reality collided with my secret. How long? She finally whispered, her voice soft but weighted with enough confusion to crush me. I opened my mouth, but nothing came out. How could I explain something I didn't even fully understand myself? Was this a phase? A mistake? A need? A truth? Even I didn't know. So how could I say it to her? The one person whose approval had always mattered the most? I swallowed hard, my throat tight and burning. I'm sorry. That's all I managed. She blinked slowly, like she was waking from a nightmare. For what? Her voice cracked on the last word. That question, those 2 words, hurt more than anything else she could have said. For what? For being her child? For being someone she didn't expect? For wearing her clothes? For the lie? For the truth? Or was she asking something deeper? For existing like this? I didn't know. And she didn't look angry, not yet.
Just confused. Lost.
Overwhelmed. She stepped inside, closing the door behind her, and the soft click echoed like a verdict. Each step she took toward me made the room shrink. I backed up automatically, my heels tapping unevenly against the wooden floor. The wig felt heavier. The lipstick tasted bitter. The dress clung to my skin like it suddenly wanted to suffocate me. Take, she paused, her eyes moving down my body and back up again. Take a breath. I didn't realize I was hyperventilating until she said it. I sucked in air too fast, too sharp. She raised a hand, hesitated, unsure if she should touch me. Her fingers hovered near my shoulder, trembling, then pulled back. That hurt the most. She wanted to comfort me, but she didn't know if she was allowed. If touching me would break something. If touching me meant she accepted something she wasn't ready for. Everything in her eyes screamed, "Who is this person standing in front of me?" And everything inside me screamed back, "I don't know either." My knees buckled slightly, and she caught it immediately.
Sit.
Please. Her voice softened, motherly instinct slipping through the confusion. But I shook my head. I didn't want to sit. I didn't want to move. I didn't want her eyes to follow me like they were following every inch of my transformed self. I didn't mean for you to see me like this, I whispered, each word breaking at the edges. She let out a breath, shaky and uneven. Then her voice wasn't harsh.
It was raw.
Too honest. When was I supposed to see the real you?
Real.
That word hit me like a slap.
The real me. Was this the real me?
The person in the heels? Or the person who never dared to be in them? She stared at me again, longer this time. Her eyes softened in small, cautious ways, as if she were trying to piece together the sun she knew with the person standing in front of her. But the silence still suffocated us both. Finally, she exhaled slowly, steadying herself. "Why my clothes?" she asked quietly. The question hit deeper than she probably intended. I opened my mouth, closed it, looked away, looked back at her, because the truth was embarrassing. Too vulnerable, too naked. They make me feel different, I confessed. Her brow furrowed gently, not judgmental, just puzzled. Different how? Her voice broke again. I had to look away because saying it while staring into her eyes felt impossible. I feel calmer, more at me, more like the person I can't be outside. The silence thickened again. But this silence felt different, like she was finally listening, not reacting, not panicking, listening. She took a small step closer. I didn't move. She studied my face, my makeup, the wig, the trembling in my shoulders. Something in her eyes flickered, a mix of pain and something else I couldn't name. She hesitated, do you feel like a girl? I closed my eyes. Not because the question was wrong, but because it was complicated. I don't know, I whispered honestly. Her lips parted in a tiny, surprised breath. It was the only answer I could give. I didn't feel like a girl all the time. I didn't feel like a boy all the time either. I just felt like me. Someone who didn't fit neatly into the boxes everyone expected. Someone who found pieces of themselves in places they weren't supposed to.
She didn't speak for a long time.
Then she whispered, "I wish you had told me." My chest tightened. I was scared, I admitted. I didn't want you to think I was weird, she finished gently. Broken, I whispered. Her eyes widened, her breath catching. And for the first time since she walked through the door, something warm flickered in her expression. Pain, yes, but also protectiveness. "Hey," she said softly, stepping a little closer. "You're not broken." Her voice trembled. "You're scared, and confused, and brave. And I wish you didn't have to deal with this alone." The words hit so hard I almost stumbled. Tears welled up in my eyes before I could stop them. "I didn't want to disappoint you." She shook her head slowly, heartbreak tightening her features. "Oh, sweetheart, you could never disappoint me. But you scared me today. Not because of what you're wearing, but because you thought you had to hide this from me." Her voice cracked. "And that means I failed somewhere." My breath hitched. No, you didn't fail." But she wasn't convinced. And somewhere behind her softness, behind her trembling voice, behind the attempt to understand, I could feel the tension rising. The questions she wasn't saying. The emotions she was struggling to control. The fear that things were about to change forever. Because even though she wasn't yelling, even though she wasn't angry, even though she was trying to understand, I could feel it. This was only the beginning. The storm hadn't hit yet. It was just gathering strength. The room felt smaller, almost suffocating. Every inch of space seemed charged with unspoken words and restrained emotions. Mom was still standing there, her eyes never leaving me, trying to understand, trying not to judge, and yet the sheer intensity of her gaze made me feel like I was being dissected. I wanted to shrink into the floor. I wanted to disappear into the shadows. I wanted to run, but the heels made every step a loud, awkward confession. I was painfully aware of each click, each sway, each movement that betrayed me. I took a tentative step backward, as if the distance could protect me from her perception. My breath came in shallow bursts. My heart slammed against my ribs as if it was begging me to escape the inevitable confrontation. "Samir," she said again, her voice soft but firm. "You can sit down.
Please.
Let's talk like adults." I hesitated. Sitting down would mean vulnerability. Sitting down would mean showing her the full weight of my secret without pretense. But standing here, frozen in heels and makeup, left me exposed anyway. There was no safe option. I lowered myself to the couch, feeling the unfamiliar sway of the dress against my legs, the heels digging slightly into my feet as if reminding me that every choice carries a cost. She sat opposite me, careful, deliberate, keeping a small, safe distance. It was like watching a tightrope walker, careful, balanced, trying not to fall. I realized then that we were both walking the same line. She had just as much fear as I did, though it was rooted in love and confusion rather than self-expression. The silence stretched, thick and heavy, almost unbearable. I never imagined, she started, trailing off, words fumbling as she tried to find footing. I mean, I know you've been experimenting. I've noticed little things before, but her voice cracked. I didn't realize it was like this. The admission hung in the air like a fragile glass ornament. Fragile and dangerous. One wrong move, and it could shatter completely. I wanted to explain. I wanted to justify. I wanted to make her understand that this wasn't about disrespect or rebellion. It was about self-discovery, about exploring a side of myself I never knew could breathe freely. It's not like I planned for you to see me like this, I whispered, the words barely audible. I just wanted to feel me in private. I didn't want to shock you. Her lips pressed together, a soft sigh escaping as she processed the words. She nodded slowly, but I could see the storm behind her eyes, the confusion, the fear, the questions she didn't dare voice. You weren't hiding because you were ashamed? She asked finally. Or because you were afraid of me? I froze.
Both.
I was afraid, I admitted, but not of you. I was afraid of losing myself, of being judged, of being something I didn't even understand yet. She leaned back slightly, her hands folded neatly in her lap. For a brief moment, the tension eased. Almost. But only just. You've always been creative, she said softly. I knew you had curiosity, imagination, but this is different. It's so visible.
So raw.
So vulnerable. I swallowed hard, nodding. Vulnerability. That's exactly what this felt like. Exposing the part of me that no one had ever seen, not even Isabella. And the heels, she murmured, her voice barely above a whisper. You're wearing my heels. I winced, guilt washing over me like cold water. I didn't think. You didn't think, she interrupted gently. Maybe you should have, but I can't deny you look confident. Powerful. I mean, it's unsettling, but I see it. Her words cut through me in ways I couldn't predict. Confidence? Powerful? That wasn't supposed to happen. Not with my mom. Not in this tiny living room. And yet, despite the tension, despite the embarrassment, despite the fear of exposure, I felt something stirring inside me. Something I hadn't anticipated.
Pride.
Relief. A strange warmth that maybe, just maybe, someone understood a fraction of what this felt like. But just as quickly, doubt crept back. Would Isabella ever see me like this? Would she ever understand? Would she even want to? The room felt like it was closing in. The sunlight hitting the hardwood floor reflected off the heels, catching the edges of the dress, creating shadows that looked like the cracks in my carefully constructed life. I need to know, are you happy like this? She asked finally, her voice steady but cautious. I paused. Happiness. The word felt foreign, heavy, charged. Could I say yes? Could I admit that I felt alive in a way I hadn't before? I think I am, I confessed, voice trembling. When I dress like this, I feel right. I feel like I can breathe. Her eyebrows lifted slightly, a flicker of surprise, maybe even understanding. But the next words froze me. But are you safe? Are you sure you know the risks? And just like that, reality crashed back in. Safe? Risk? She wasn't judging me for the dress or the heels. She was worrying about the consequences. And she was right. I looked down at my legs, trembling slightly inside her heels. Each tap against the floor sounded louder now, heavier, reminding me of the fragility of this moment. What if someone finds out? I asked quietly. What if? Isabella. Mom's expression softened, almost heartbreakingly so. Then we deal with it. Together. But you need to understand, this is not just about wearing a dress or heels. It's about your safety, your heart, your mind. And I don't want you to feel trapped between fear and desire.
Trapped.
That's exactly what I felt. Trapped in silk, trapped in makeup, trapped in a secret that had finally found its way to daylight. The rest of the afternoon unfolded like a slow, careful dance. She asked questions, but softly, gently, like she was testing the waters of my world without rushing me. She didn't make judgments. She didn't lecture. She listened, and I talked. For the first time, I spoke aloud about why I cross-dressed, the relief it gave me, the identity I explored in private, and the fear I had of being rejected. Each word was a step forward and a risk at the same time. Her reactions were subtle, an eyebrow raised, a soft nod, a hand pressed to her lips, but they told me she was absorbing it all. That maybe, just maybe, she was trying to see me, truly see me beyond the societal boxes and expectations. By the time the clock ticked toward evening, the tension hadn't vanished. But something had shifted. The fear of being caught had transformed into something else. Understanding? Acceptance? Curiosity? All mixed together. Fragile, complicated, unpredictable. I knew one thing for certain. This was only the beginning. The real challenge wasn't surviving this moment with Mom. The real challenge was living with myself and the world after she had seen me like this. Even though Mom had retreated to her corner of the room, carefully processing everything, I couldn't shake the feeling that the world was closing in on me. Every sound outside, the creak of a neighbor's floorboard, the distant hum of traffic, suddenly felt magnified, like tiny alarms ringing in my head. I was hyper-aware of every movement, every shadow, every flicker of light that could betray me. And then the phone rang. I froze mid-breath, hand instinctively going to my chest. That shrill, demanding ring sounded like it was meant just for me, a summons from reality I wasn't prepared to face. Mom glanced at it with a soft frown, but didn't move. Her presence, calm yet tense, reminded me that she now carried a part of this secret with her, even if she didn't fully understand it yet. I hesitated. My thumb hovered over the screen, my other hand shaking slightly inside the unfamiliar silk of the dress. Each tap against the floor felt like a countdown to exposure. "Answer it," Mom said softly. Her voice was gentle but firm, the kind of authority that only comes from someone who loves you too much to let you hide. I swallowed and picked up the phone. Isabella's name flashed on the screen. My stomach dropped. "Oh no," I whispered under my breath. I didn't know whether to hang up, to answer casually, or to pretend that I was entirely normal. Each option seemed dangerous. Every second spent deciding made the room hotter, the air heavier. "Hello," I said, my voice cracking slightly. "Hey, Samir? Are you home? I just finished early, and wait, why does it sound like someone's there?" Isabella's voice trailed off, puzzled. Panic hit me like a tidal wave. My mom froze next to me, silent but watching, her eyes sharp now, almost as if she were anticipating what might come next. Yeah, I'm here. Just cleaning up," I lied, my voice shaking. The heels suddenly felt like weapons, balancing me precariously, threatening to betray my every move. "I'll be there in 10 minutes, Isabella said. "Actually, maybe less. Traffic's weird today." 10 minutes.
Less.
My pulse doubled. My mind raced. 10 minutes, and I had no idea if I could transform back into normal Samir in time. I hung up, trying to steady myself. Mom gave me a small, knowing look.
She didn't scold me. She didn't panic.
She just whispered, "You have 10 minutes.
Go."
10 minutes. My entire being screamed at me. Run.
Hide. Do something.
But running wasn't an option. The heels made that impossible. And every second I hesitated, I knew the danger of exposure grew heavier. I grabbed the wig first, yanking it off with trembling fingers, then the dress, then the heels, each movement frantic, but careful. My heart threatened to burst from my chest. Every small noise, my own breathing, the swish of fabric, the faint click of heels, felt amplified, like the universe was conspiring against me. Mom helped silently, handing me clothes quickly, her eyes never leaving the doorway, as if she were a co-conspirator in this delicate operation. For a moment, I felt a strange surge of gratitude. She could have judged me. She could have panicked. But she didn't. She just acted as if survival depended on speed, precision, and absolute calm. I slipped into my jeans and t-shirt, my hands shaking, the last traces of makeup quickly wiped from my face. My reflection in the mirror was now the Samir everyone knew, the quiet, careful, structured young man. But inside, a storm still raged. The version of me that had been alive in silk and heels was still there, pulsing, threatening to surface again.
The doorbell rang.
My heart skipped a beat. That was it. The countdown ended. The moment of truth had arrived. "Samir, you ready?" Mom whispered. Her voice was calm, but there was tension there, like a tightrope stretched too thin. Yeah, I said, though my voice sounded hollow even to me. I opened the door to Isabella, who smiled, oblivious to the chaos that had just occurred. But that smile was the spark that ignited 1,000 conflicting emotions inside me. Guilt, fear, shame, desire, longing. We stepped into the living room, and I tried to act casual, tried to fold the panic into the routine of greeting her. But every second, every movement felt like a test. Every shadow, every glance, every breath could betray me. And then, just as I was beginning to feel the fragile illusion of normalcy, Isabella tilted her head slightly, a curious glint in her eyes. "Why do you look different?" she asked, casual yet pointed, as if she sensed something but couldn't quite name it. My throat tightened. I opened my mouth to lie, to deflect, to laugh it off, but Mom's presence was a silent reminder. The secret wasn't safe anymore. And the truth, no matter how carefully I packaged it, was close to breaking free. I swallowed hard, hoping my next words wouldn't shatter everything. "Nothing, just, I tried something new," I said finally, voice low, careful, fragile. Isabella smiled, but her eyes lingered, probing deeper. The tension didn't fade. It grew, threading through every corner of the apartment, through every heartbeat, through every click of my shoes as I tried to act normal. I realized then that this wasn't just a secret anymore. It was a living, breathing thing that could escape, unravel, and destroy everything I had built if I wasn't careful. And the worst part? The version of me in heels, the one alive and real, was still waiting beneath the surface. And deep down, part of me wanted her to see it. The air felt heavy, electric, like the moment right before a storm hits. Every second stretched endlessly, every heartbeat a countdown. Isabella was there, sitting innocently on the couch, chatting about her day. But her eyes kept flicking toward me, searching, curious, unconsciously probing. I could feel it. Every glance, every casual smile, every laugh, a potential unraveling of everything I'd tried to keep hidden. I tried to act normal, laugh at her jokes, nod politely, move naturally. But the silk of my anxiety clung tighter than the fabric of my hidden dress ever had. My hands itched to fidget, my stomach twisted, my mind raced. Every instinct screamed, "She knows.
She feels it.
She's close." And that's when I realized the danger wasn't just my mom knowing anymore. It was Isabella, the one person whose opinion mattered most, whose judgment could crush me or elevate me in ways I couldn't yet understand. I excused myself for a moment, claiming I needed to grab something from the kitchen. The moment I stepped away, my mind spun wildly. I had been so careful, so secretive, and yet the thrill, the fear, the adrenaline, had pushed me closer to exposure than ever before. In the kitchen, my reflection caught me in the window glass. My hands were trembling. My hair, though back to normal, felt strange. My skin, though bare of makeup, felt raw. My identity, though temporarily hidden under casual clothing, pulsed beneath the surface like a heartbeat I couldn't control. I thought of the heels,
The dress. The wig.
the lipstick, the way my mom had seen me. And then the way Isabella might see me if I made even the slightest mistake. Every risk I had taken, every secret I had kept, every forbidden thrill, all of it had led to this fragile, tense precipice. I heard the front door open slightly, and a small creak echoed through the apartment. My pulse doubled. That sound, so ordinary in any other context, sounded like a gunshot now. Mom had returned to her quiet corner, leaving me alone with the storm brewing in Isabella's presence. I could hear her footsteps approaching. She came closer, closer to the edge of the kitchen, closer to the threshold of discovering what I'd hidden so carefully. "You okay?" Isabella's voice called softly from the living room, casual but probing, aware of the unusual tension. I nodded, though I wasn't. I wasn't okay. My entire body felt alert, hyper-aware. My heart raced in my chest like a trapped animal. Every fiber of me wanted to flee, but my mind was frozen in indecision, stuck between fear and desire. And then suddenly I saw it. A single, familiar shape in the corner of my eye, one of Mom's heels. Somehow, in the chaos of changing back, it hadn't made it back to her closet. It rested on the floor like a silent witness. The very symbol of my secret, my transformation, my forbidden identity, waiting. Watching. My stomach dropped. My hands froze mid-motion. One wrong step, one careless word, one glance in the wrong direction, and everything could unravel. I glanced at Isabella, who had now stood up, curious, her gaze sliding toward the corner. Her eyes widened ever so slightly. A flicker of recognition. Was it shock? Was it curiosity? Was it suspicion? My heart slammed against my ribs so violently I feared she could hear it. "Is that?" she began, voice trailing off, hesitant, as if she wasn't sure she wanted to finish the question. Panic surged through me like a tidal wave. I lunged forward, pretending to straighten something on the counter, hiding the heel with my body, my hands shaking violently. "Oh, that? Just a shoe," I stammered, too loud, too fast. Isabella tilted her head, studying me. That look, the one that can read truth through lies, feelings through fear, sent a chill down my spine. My pulse was deafening. My mind screamed, "She's going to know. She's going to see. It's over." But then she smiled. A small, almost imperceptible smile, like she was humoring me, or perhaps testing me. "You're hiding something," she said softly. The words hit like a lightning strike. She wasn't yelling, she wasn't accusing, but she didn't need to. That sentence alone carried the weight of revelation, the potential of exposure, and the thrill of danger all in one. I tried to laugh it off. "No, of course not," I said, my voice cracking despite my effort. But the truth is she knew. Somehow she already knew. And that awareness, it thrilled me as much as it terrified me. My hands shook. My stomach twisted. My throat burned. I was caught in that perfect storm where fear and desire collided. I wanted her to know, but I was terrified of what it meant if she did. And then, as if to mock me, the heater clicked on. The sudden noise echoed in the apartment, loud, intrusive, impossible to ignore. It startled both of us. Isabella's eyes flicked toward the sound, then back at me. The tension didn't break. It sharpened. Mom, still in her corner, watched silently, her presence grounding me, yet reminding me that there was no escape. The room felt smaller, tighter, suffocating. I could feel the seconds stretching longer, each tick of the clock a countdown to disaster. Every heartbeat, every movement, every breath was amplified, magnified, poised on the edge of revelation. And in that moment, I realized something I hadn't admitted to myself before. I wanted her to see me. I wanted her to understand, to accept, to witness the part of me I had spent years hiding. But I was terrified of what would happen if she did, because the truth was messy, vulnerable, dangerous, and once exposed, it couldn't be undone. I glanced down at the single heel still on the floor, the symbol of my double life. My identity split between secrecy and revelation. My fear and my longing, intertwined in the perfect storm. The room held its breath. The apartment held its breath. Even I held my breath. And at that exact moment, the front door clicked again. Another key. Another turn. Another arrival. My heart froze. The next person to enter could change everything. Everything. And I knew there was no turning back. The door swung open, and my stomach plummeted like a stone in water. My mind screamed in panic, but my body was frozen, trapped between the urge to run and the heels that had betrayed me earlier.
It wasn't Isabella this time.
It was Aunt Navila, Mom's older sister, a woman whose sharp eyes and no-nonsense demeanor could detect lies before words even left her mouth. She froze the instant she saw me, though I wasn't fully in my cross-dressing attire, just remnants of it. My fingers were still trembling, clutching the half-worn wig, a smudge of lipstick faintly visible on my lips, the faint scent of Mom's perfume lingering from the dress I had tried to change out of. "Samir?" Her voice was calm, but carried a sharp edge. "What on earth?" I opened my mouth.
Closed it.
Tried again. Words failed me. Before I could explain, Mom stepped forward, placing a steady hand on my shoulder. "It's okay," she whispered. "You need to hear him out." I looked at her, panic rising again, sweat prickling the back of my neck. My worst fear wasn't being judged. It was being exposed, misunderstood, completely stripped of the secret world I had built carefully over years. Aunt Navila's eyes narrowed slightly. "I don't understand. This isn't just about a silly dress, is it?" I shook my head, unable to respond. The weight of truth pressed down on me, every heartbeat pounding in my ears. I could feel the double life I had lived for so long unraveling in real time, each fragment of silk and makeup a testament to the parts of me no one else had seen. "You're cross-dressing?" Aunt Navila asked finally, as if the word itself were dangerous, like fire. The air grew heavier, the silence stretching taut. Mom nodded slowly.
"Yes.
And it's been a part of him for a long time. He's not doing anything wrong. He's exploring himself." I tried to explain, but words felt shallow, inadequate. My hands shook. It's who I am when I express myself like this. It's not a phase. You're wearing my clothes," Aunt Navila interrupted sharply, pointing to the heels on the floor. Her voice was less accusatory now and more incredulous. "And the makeup? The wig? This isn't just experimenting. This is bold. And risky."
Risky.
That word resonated in my chest like an alarm bell.
Yes.
Every single second of this had been risky. And now, standing before two of the most important women in my life, the risk had reached a terrifying peak. I wanted to run, to vanish, to crawl back into the shadows where no one could see the pieces of me that were raw, vulnerable, and exposed. But the shoes I had been wearing, the dress, the makeup, they weren't just clothes. They were a revelation, a statement, a truth I could no longer hide. Isabella appeared then, entering quietly from the living room. Her eyes widened as she took in the scene, the heels, the wig in my hands, the faint red of lipstick on my lips. And most of all, the fear and vulnerability written across my face. "Samir, what's going on?" she asked softly, but I could hear the sharp undertone of suspicion. Everything slowed. Each gaze pinned me in place. Mom's quiet understanding, Aunt Navila's sharp scrutiny, Isabella's cautious curiosity. My body trembled as I realized the enormity of the situation. Every secret, every hidden expression of myself, was now on the table. There was no going back. I swallowed, trying to form words that wouldn't betray me further. I need you to understand, this isn't about anyone else.
It's about me.
This is who I am when I'm alone, when I'm myself. And I want you to see me, all of me. The room went silent again. My voice shook. I could feel my heart hammering in my chest like a warning drum. Aunt Navila's eyes softened slightly, though her expression was still wary. "You're brave," she finally said, "and maybe a little reckless." Mom reached out, taking my hand, giving me a reassuring squeeze. "It's okay to be brave," she said softly. "You've always been, in your own way." And this is just another part of you. I don't fully understand it, but I accept it. I wanted to cry. Relief battled with fear, and every nerve in my body was alive with adrenaline. The truth was out. My secret wasn't safe anymore, but maybe, just maybe, that was okay. But the climax wasn't over. Isabella stepped closer, her eyes scanning me, analyzing every detail. "So, you've been hiding this from me?" she asked, voice soft but deliberate.
Why?
"Were you ashamed? Afraid of what I'd think?" "Yes," I admitted, voice breaking. "Afraid you'd see me differently. Afraid you'd reject me." Her expression softened, but a hint of intensity remained. "I might have questions. I might be confused. But I need to know you. All of you. Not just the version that fits neatly into the world." The word struck me with more force than I expected. Validation mixed with fear, relief mixed with tension, and desire mixed with vulnerability. At that exact moment, I realized something profound. The world hadn't ended. My identity hadn't shattered. My secret hadn't destroyed everything. But the stakes were higher than ever. The risk of exposure had become real, immediate, and unavoidable. And deep down, I felt it, the thrill, the fear, the undeniable truth of living authentically, even when the world might not fully understand. The room held its breath. Every gaze, every heartbeat, every silent acknowledgement, the suspense had reached its peak. And then the front door clicked again. Another arrival. Another unknown variable. My chest tightened. The climax was just beginning. The door swung open again, this time more forcefully. My heart stopped mid-beat. A shadow filled the doorway, larger, heavier, imposing. It was Uncle Faisal, Mom's brother, notorious for his bluntness and no-nonsense attitude. The kind of man who could sniff out deception faster than a bloodhound. "Everyone okay in here?" he asked, his voice casual, but the sharp edge under it made me flinch. He paused mid-step, taking in the scene. Mom seated calmly, Aunt Navila's skeptical stare, Isabella frozen mid-step, and me, standing there, caught between fear and exposure. The wig in my hands, the faint smear of lipstick, the heels still resting on the floor. Every detail screamed secret revealed. I wanted to vanish. I wanted the floor to swallow me whole. I wanted to rewind time and erase every decision that led to this moment. Yeah, I stammered, voice shaking. "Everything's fine. Just, talking." But he didn't move. His eyes locked on me, sharp, scanning, questioning. "I don't know," Aunt Navila said softly, almost as a warning. "Something feels off." I could feel the tension rising like a tidal wave ready to crash over me. My pulse thundered in my ears. My hands trembled uncontrollably, clutching at the wig like it was a lifeline. The heels glimmered ominously on the floor, a silent reminder of my hidden life, my hidden truth. Uncle Faisal's gaze swept across the room, lingering on Mom. "And you're okay with this?" Mom exhaled, calm yet firm.
Yes.
"We need to understand him. We need to let him speak." I swallowed hard, words barely forming. I can explain." But before I could finish, Isabella stepped forward. Her eyes locked on me, intense, searching, questioning. "Samir, please. Tell me everything. I want to understand." The room seemed to shrink around me. Every glance, every expression, every unspoken judgment pressed against me like the walls of a cage. I realized then that my secret life, the one I had nurtured in private, the one I had carefully hidden, was about to collide head-on with reality. I took a shaky breath. I crossdress. I wear clothes, makeup, heels sometimes, to feel me, to feel right. Not because I want to shock anyone. Not because I want to disrespect anyone. I just need it. The silence that followed was deafening. Even Uncle Faisal, who rarely showed emotion, had frozen mid-step. Mom's hand still rested on mine, firm, grounding, supporting, yet letting me face the consequences of my truth. Aunt Navila's eyebrows knitted together, her lips pressing into a thin line. Isabella's eyes shimmered with a mixture of shock, curiosity, and a faint trace of understanding. And then the room shifted. Uncle Faisal stepped forward slowly. His gaze softened slightly, though the sharpness never fully left. "It's bold," he said finally, "and maybe reckless. But it's you, and you need to be true to yourself." Relief washed over me, mingled with a new surge of anxiety. The storm wasn't over. I knew it. Someone else could enter, a neighbor could knock, a colleague could call. Every moment I existed in this room felt like standing on a knife's edge. Then, a sudden click, the sound of a phone unlocking on the counter. I hadn't even noticed it, but now it felt like an alarm bell. My hands flew to cover my face, but it was too late. A new message flashed across the screen. A work email, urgent, marked high priority. My pulse skyrocketed. The heels of anxiety pressed down like a weight I couldn't escape. One wrong move, and everything, the secret, the fragile trust, the relationships, could unravel in a second. Isabella stepped closer again, her voice soft but steady. "Samir, I don't care about the clothes. I care about you. But you need to be honest with me and with yourself. No more hiding." Her words struck me like lightning. Vulnerability, fear, and desire collided in my chest. I wanted to tell her everything, show her everything, reveal every hidden corner of my identity. But the risk, exposure, judgment, misunderstanding kept my mouth sealed. Mom's hand squeezed mine. "He's telling the truth," she said firmly. "We'll all figure this out together." But before I could breathe, Aunt Navila leaned forward, whispering, almost conspiratorially, "Do you realize the neighbors could see? Someone could find out?" The words sent a chill through me. Every possibility I had feared, every nightmare I had imagined, seemed suddenly closer, real, tangible. I looked around the room. Mom's calm presence, Aunt Navila's cautious scrutiny, Isabella's intense focus, Uncle Faisal's hesitant acceptance, and me, caught between two worlds, two identities, two realities. And then, the final twist, a knock at the door. Not casual. Not accidental. Intentional. My heart froze. My breath caught. The room held its collective breath. Every eye turned toward the entrance, every second stretching endlessly, as if the universe itself paused in anticipation. I realized then that the climax had arrived, not just for my secret, but for everything I had tried to hide, everything I had feared, everything I had longed to reveal. The door clicked.
Slowly.
Deliberately. And standing there was someone I never expected. The person who could either destroy everything or change everything forever. The knock on the door reverberated through the apartment like a gunshot. My heart pounded so loudly I could almost hear it in the walls. Each breath felt shallow, each movement heavier, as if gravity itself had turned against me. Mom's hand squeezed mine again. "Stay calm," she whispered, though even she looked tense. Aunt Navila's sharp gaze was fixed on the doorway, ready to act. Isabella's eyes flicked between me and the door, uncertainty and curiosity battling for dominance. I swallowed hard, every instinct screaming that this was the moment everything could unravel. The version of me that existed in heels, makeup, and silk, the part one had hidden for so long, was buried beneath layers of casual clothes, but it felt alive, pulsing under my skin. Every nerve ending was electric. The door swung open, and there he stood. My older cousin, Armin, the last person I expected, and the one who knew far too much about my family's tendencies toward judgment and gossip. His eyes immediately swept the room, taking in Mom, Aunt Navila, Isabella, and finally landing on me. There it was. Recognition. A flicker of understanding, or suspicion, crossed his face. He tilted his head, curiosity laced with concern. "What's going on here?" he asked, voice casual, yet every word carried weight. I froze, the wig still clutched awkwardly in one hand, the heels now hidden behind the sofa. My mind raced 1,000 miles an hour. How much could he already guess? How much did Isabella sense? How much had Mom prepared him for? "Armin," Mom said softly. He's been exploring his identity. He crossdresses. It's part of who he is. I felt my stomach drop. The words sounded surreal even to me. They were spoken aloud, no longer hidden behind whispers and private moments. The secret, my fragile identity, was out in the open. Armin's eyes widened slightly. He stepped closer, scanning me up and down. He didn't recoil, didn't mock, didn't laugh, but the tension in his gaze was undeniable. "So, this is why he's been acting differently?" he asked, voice low. "The clothes, the makeup, the heels?" "Yes," I whispered, almost inaudibly. "It's who I am when I'm myself." I never wanted to hide it forever, but I was afraid. Isabella stepped closer, her expression softening but her curiosity unbroken. "I see it now," she said. "The person you've been afraid to show. The person you truly are." I wanted to believe it would end there, that understanding, acceptance, and relief would wash over me. But the danger wasn't gone. Not even close. Because Armin's eyes suddenly flicked down to the faint smudge of lipstick still lingering on my lips. The trace of red was subtle, but enough to betray me. You're wearing makeup," he said slowly, almost like he was testing me. "Right now." The room froze. My heart stopped. Everything, every secret I had guarded for years, every stolen moment of self-expression, hung in the balance. I could feel the weight of every gaze, Mom's calm support, Aunt Navila's sharp scrutiny, Isabella's mixture of concern and fascination, and now Armin's piercing curiosity. I swallowed, my voice shaking. Yes, I didn't think anyone would find out like this. I just wanted to feel me, for a little while. I didn't mean to shock anyone. Armin's eyes softened slightly, but the intensity remained. "This changes a lot," he said quietly. "Not that it should be wrong, but it does change how I see things. And I need time to understand." Relief and fear collided in my chest. Part of me wanted to collapse, to sob, to finally release the tension I'd been holding for so long. Another part of me feared that every word, every revelation, had just opened the door to judgment, gossip, misunderstanding, and consequences I wasn't ready to face. And then, just as I was starting to breathe, just as I was beginning to hope that maybe this storm had passed, my phone buzzed. A notification from Isabella. A photo. I glanced at it and froze. It was a picture of me in the heels, the dress, the wig, smiling, alive, vulnerable, exposed. My breath caught in my throat. Isabella's expression shifted, a mischievous yet knowing smile tugging at her lips. "I thought you'd like me to remember this moment," she said softly, eyes glinting. The room was silent. Mom, Aunt Navila, and Armin stared at the phone, and then back at me. And in that instant, I realized the secret wasn't hidden anymore. The truth was out. And the consequences? They were just beginning. The apartment felt smaller, tighter, the air thick with anticipation, fear, and excitement. Every heartbeat screamed that nothing would ever be the same. And at that exact moment, I heard a car pull into the driveway. Another arrival. Another unknown variable. Another potential threat. I froze, the heels of anxiety pressing down harder than ever. My secret life, my double identity, my hidden self, everything teetered on the edge of exposure. The front door clicked. Slowly. Deliberately. And standing there, someone I never expected, someone whose arrival could shatter the fragile peace in an instant, was about to walk into the apartment. My chest tightened. My stomach lurched. Every instinct screamed, hide, run, or accept it all. But there was no time. No escape. The door opened, and the story exploded. The front door creaked open slowly. My heart stopped mid-beat. Every nerve in my body screamed. Every muscle tensed as the figure in the doorway slowly came into view. It was Dad. He stood there, tall, imposing, and completely unaware of the storm brewing inside the apartment. His eyes swept the room, taking in Mom, Aunt Navila, Isabella, Armin, and then finally landing on me. My breath caught. The past few hours, the secret heels, the dress, the wig, the makeup had led to this inevitable collision. The apartment felt smaller, the air thicker. My pulse thundered in my ears, and the wig I still clutched felt heavier than ever. Every hidden moment, every stolen thrill, every secret that had made me feel alive was now exposed to the one person I feared most. Dad's gaze lingered on me, sharp, searching, and I felt the weight of judgment pressing down. Mom's hand squeezed mine, reassuring yet tense. Aunt Navila's sharp eyes darted between all of us, calculating, analyzing. Isabella stood a little closer now, curiosity mixed with that faint knowing smile. And Armin, well, he just raised an eyebrow, his expression a mix of disbelief and intrigue. I tried to form words, tried to explain, tried to defend myself, but my voice cracked, barely audible.
I.
Dad's expression hardened slightly. Samir, what's going on here? Every second stretched like hours. The heels on the floor glimmered ominously, the faint remnants of lipstick on my lips still visible, and the wig in my hands trembled as I held it. I was caught between fear and the raw desire to be seen, understood, accepted, and I didn't know which would win. I crossdress, I finally whispered, the words barely escaping. It's part of who I am when I express myself fully. I didn't mean for anyone to find out like this. The room was silent, thick with tension. My entire world had narrowed to a single heartbeat, a single shared glance between Dad, Mom, Isabella, and the others. Every secret, every hidden desire, every forbidden thrill, all hung in the air like a fragile glass ornament, ready to shatter at the slightest touch. Dad's gaze softened, just a fraction, but his tone remained cautious. This is a lot to process, he said. I don't know what to say or how to react. I nodded, swallowing hard, every muscle trembling. Relief and fear battled inside me. Relief that I had finally spoken my truth. Fear that everything could still fall apart in an instant. Mom stepped forward, placing a reassuring hand on my shoulder. He's telling the truth, she said softly. And we need to understand, not judge. This is a part of him we can't ignore. Aunt Navila leaned back slightly, her expression thoughtful but wary. Isabella reached out, holding my hand gently, her eyes warm, yet filled with curiosity. And Armin, well, he just gave me a small, knowing nod, silently acknowledging the courage it took to reveal myself. The tension in the room didn't break, though. The atmosphere was charged, thick with questions that had no answers yet. Every gaze, every heartbeat, every breath held the unspoken tension. What now? What happens next? How will this all end? Then the front door clicked behind Dad. Another knock. Another unknown variable. My stomach twisted. I froze, clutching the wig and the faint trace of lipstick like shields against the world. Who now? I whispered under my breath, though the words barely left me. Mom's eyes widened slightly, her hand tightening on mine. Aunt Navila's gaze sharpened. Isabella's eyes twinkled with a mix of intrigue and warning. And Armin, well, he looked almost amused, as if he had been waiting for this exact moment. The apartment was suffocating. My heart raced. My hands trembled. My entire life, the hidden, secret world that had brought me joy, fear, and identity, was now exposed. Every secret I had cherished, every thrill I had stolen in private, was hanging by a thread. And then the door opened. The figure that stepped inside wasn't just another person. It was someone who could change everything. Someone who could shatter my fragile world, or cement it forever. I couldn't move. My lips trembled.
My heart was a drum in my chest.
And in that exact moment, the screen fades to black. Everything is exposed to multiple family members and Isabella. One final arrival is about to completely alter the stakes. Viewers are left desperate to know who stepped in. How will everyone react? Will Samir's secret survive or be destroyed?